Welcome to the third class of textiles. In this class, we are going to learn about the concept of yarn number. Yarn number is generally calculated for spun yarns and filament yarns. What are spun yarns? Spun yarns are yarns which are made up of short fibers. And these short fibers can be twisted to make a spun yarn. Therefore, in spun yarn, always you will find that there are short fibers which are sticking out, since you are trying to bind short fibers together. This is a filament yarn. A filament yarn is very smooth. It is a long yarn. It is generally measured in meters and yards. This is a multifilament yarn. In multifilament yarn, you have many monofilaments which are put together to make a multifilament yarn. The fabrics might have spun yarns, or the fabric might have filament yarns. Generally, whenever you have filament yarns in the fabric will be very smooth. Whenever you have spun yarns in the fabric will always be slightly rough to feel. Let's see the concept of yarn number now. Yarn number will roughly give you the diameter of yarn, or it indicates the thickness or fineness of a yarn. So if you look at this yarn, it has a diameter. So in yarn number class, we are going to calculate the thickness of this yarn or the diameter of this yarn. This is generally measured in terms of linear density. Linear density means, linear means length, density means weight. It is defined in two ways: length per unit mass and mass per unit length. Length per unit mass is your indirect system, and this system is generally used for spun yarns. Direct system is generally used for filament yarns. The abbreviation for spun yarns in the indirect system is a capital N and a small s, which is for spun yarns, a capital N and a small e, which is the English system. It is also called cotton count or the British system. For filament yarns, the abbreviation is D, which means denier, T, which is tex, or DT, which is decitex. Let's see what is the definition of cotton count, which is your indirect system, which is the system to calculate yarn count for spun yarns. Yarn count is defined as number of hanks, each of 840 yards, it should weigh 1 pound. What is a hank? A hank is basically a coil of yarn which measures 840 yards. If the yarn count is 1s, this means one hank of 840 yards is weighing 1 pound. If we say the yarn count is 5s, this means 5 hanks each of 840 yards is weighing 1 pound. If I say 10s, it means 10 hanks each of 840 yards should weigh 1 pound. If I say 30s, this means 30 hanks each of 840 yards is weighing 1 pound. If I say 60s, this means each hank of 840 yards is weighing 1 pound. 80s means 80 hanks each of 840 yards should weigh 1 pound. Therefore, higher the yarn number, finer is the yarn, because the length keeps increasing and the weight remains same. In cotton count, you can have 100s, you can have 120s also. Finer the yarn, lighter will be the weight of the fabric. For example, for this fabric, the yarn count can be 20s. So this is the diameter for 20s. There are fabrics which are finer fabrics in which the diameter of the yarn can go up to 80s, 100s or 120s. In denim fabrics, the thickness is much higher. Therefore, these yarns can have a cotton count of 6S, 4S or 10S. Let's see what is the direct system now. Filament yarns are generally expressed in terms of denier, tex and decitex. The most popular unit used is denier. Denier is defined as number of grams in 9,000 meters of yarn. If I say the yarn count is 1 denier, this means 1 gram weighs 9,000 meters. Since the definition says number of grams in 9,000 meters of yarn. If I say 10 denier, this means 10 grams in 9,000 meters of yarn. If I say 30 denier, this means 30 grams in 9,000 meters of yarn. 60 denier, 60 grams in 9,000 meters of yarn. 90 denier is 90 grams in 9,000 meters of yarn. Therefore, higher the yarn number, thicker is the yarn. This system is slightly opposite to the indirect system. We have learned that in the indirect system, higher the yarn number, finer is the yarn. In case of filament yarns, higher the yarn number, thicker is the yarn. Therefore, in fabrics like silk, where generally the calculations are done in denier, heavier the weight, more is the denier, expensive is the fabric. Some countries are also using tex as a system. Tex is defined as number of grams in 1000 meters of yarn. Please remember, in denier we said number of grams in 9,000 meters of yarn. In decitex, it is defined as number of grams in 10,000 meters of yarn. This is used for microfibers. What is a microfiber? Microfibers are fibers which are less than 1 decitex. For example, you have polyester microfibers. Generally, the direct system is used for polyesters and silks. The indirect system is used for spun yarn for cotton and spun yarn for rayon. Most synthetic fibers, polyesters, nylons, acrylics, lycras, they are generally manufactured as filament yarns, but they can be cut into short fiber length to make a spun yarn also. Let's look at what is the formula for calculating the spun yarn. Number of yarns into length of the yarns, 169 multiplied by weight in grams. So number of yarns, we want to take 10 yarns. Length of the yarns, minimum should be 10 centimeters, and weight in grams has to be calculated on an analytical balance where you can measure up to 4 decimal points. So this has to be done on a high precision balance, and we will go to the testing laboratory and see how the calculation has to be done. Now let's see how do you need to prepare the yarns for calculation of the yarn count. We already know the formula now. Take the fabric, slit the fabric in the warp direction. Tear the fabric. Once you tear the fabric, the yarns come out very easily from the fabric. Please count 10 yarns very carefully. Cut the yarns so that all the yarns become equal in number. Run your fingers. All the yarns are now equal in length. Each yarn has a crimp. Whenever you want to measure the length, always stretch the yarn on the scale and measure the yarns. Take your steel scale, keep the yarns carefully on the scale, The length of these yarns is 12.5 centimeters. Always measure one yarn and keep the yarn back in the 10 yarns bundle. You can put a knot so that all the yarns are together. We already know the formula. Let's go to the testing lab now and measure the weight of the yarns. Number of yarns we have taken 10. Length of the yarn is 12.5 centimeters. We will multiply 169 into weight in grams. Welcome to the testing lab. In this lab, we have an analytical balance, and this is a high precision balance which is used to weigh the yarns for the calculation of yarn count. Here you can weigh up to 4 decimal points. This balance is also used by the jewelers to weigh gold and to weigh carats for diamonds. Be very careful. This is a glass door. Open the glass door very carefully. There is a pan inside the balance. Make sure that you put all the yarns in the center of the pan so that the yarns are not coming outside the pan, so that you can take the weight of the yarns very precisely. Close the glass door and take the readings. The readings are 0.0841 grams. Open the door, take the yarns, close the door back again. Switch off the balance once you have taken the readings. Let's see, we can switch on the balance once again. Switch on the power switch. Let all the readings settle down to 0. Now the balance is ready for weighing. Once again, put the yarns on the pan, close the door, take the readings, take out the yarn, close the balance and switch off the balance. Thank you.